New York.
Apple.
Hot dogs.
Dollar.
Hollywood.
Democracy.
Freedom.
Rock and roll.
Wall Street.
Statue of Liberty.
Los Angeles, California.
McDonald's.
Jeans.
Bubblegum. Video games. Nintendo.
What's so great about America?
Every Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m., explore American culture and language.
With MasterSteve,
Ina MK,
And HazvaQT.
tune in to find out about what makes America so great.
The Great American Weekend. Listen exclusively on Radio Van 103.1.
Also, watch us on the Radio Von Facebook page, website, and mobile app.
Good evening, dear listeners of Radio Van. It's spring and it's all for women, right?
Hello. Welcome to the Great American Weekend. This is the Women's Day, International Women's Day episode.
And not only International Women's Day, which actually we missed because it was yesterday.
Oh, that's true.
It's okay.
But
it's a whole month.
We're going to take the day, we're going to take today to talk about American Women's History Month, which a few other countries share that celebration as well.
And who's going to do it? MasterSteve, HazvaQT, and
Ina
MK.
We're going to be here with you for another 2 hours, so tune in, stay tuned. Also watch us live on www.radiovan.fm and our official Facebook page. Also our Facebook group, which is Great American Weekend Radio Van. So how did you guys survive the Women's Day?
It was great for me. I had a gathering of people over at my place, and I had one flower that was a living flower in the center of the dinner table as an honor,
as a symbol
of the extraordinary capabilities that women have, and their intelligence and the grace that they have, and not just the beauty, which is usually what's celebrated.
So I'm still not quite sure what to make of this holiday. Because when I was growing up, I mean, they celebrate it in America a little bit now. But I guess when I was growing up, I really never heard anything about it. And there are some, I think, political reasons for that, which we might get into later in the show. But again, like I said on our Valentine's Day episode, in Armenia, we've got Valentine's Day, March 8th, April 7th. And
also
at least
Saint Sarkis Day.
Yeah, Sarkis. So, when I first got here, I wasn't sure what to make of any of this stuff. Because to me, it seemed like kind of 3 Valentine's Days right in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me too.
But now, Stephen, you're a little bit Armenianized, and you know how to deal with this kind of thing.
A little bit better, but
I'm still kind of fresh. I mean, like, you've been here for, what, 13 years?
Something like that.
Who's
counting?
Wow. I know, after 10 years, I guess.
Certainly not.
But for me, it's still new. Those 3 days of where there's one is like for International Mothers and Beauty Day. And then
April 7th,
And then there's the actual Valentine's Day. Then there's the additional Armenian Saint Sarkis Valentine's Day. And now the international
Valentine's.
But this holiday, I've come to understand over the years, is more about international women's rights. And I also did not have that experience in America at all, where it wasn't really that big of a thing. I think because it's in our everyday, that kind of the feminist drive or the drive for equality was always there.
Women's History Month was started in March because of International Women's Day. But International Women's Day was founded primarily by socialist and communist political parties or organizations.
It was the communists.
It's the communists. And of course, during the Red Scare, in the 50s, that the U.S. wasn't going to have anything to do with these communist socialist holidays. So I don't think it. Plus, I mean, we already had Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and stuff like that in the U.S. Now, in terms of Women's Day, International Women's Day, I guess we didn't really have anything specifically like that. But that is the kind of the origins of it. is about women's rights, women's equality, that women are equal to men and should be treated as such.
Women are human.
Yeah.
Yes.
As
I'd like to use my
as if there was
catchphrase.
any other way to what? Yeah, that's a truism, isn't it?
I'd like to use my catchphrase at this point, which is sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah, feminine. Okay.
That applies to men as well. Men are human.
Hey, I'm just yeah.
Guys,
exactly.
also, I would like to announce that we will have a guest during our show. A strong, a confident, fragile, but still
Well,
not fragile.
well, the way that I would introduce her is she's a leader of an organization that is an American organization, American started organization called the ONEArmenia, that is doing several different projects using crowdfunded sources with ways to report what work they do in country. So their current project is demining in the Republic of Artsakh, and she is the in-country director, Charlotte Poulain.
Operations Director, Charlotte Poulain. Yeah,
Yeah, you said it correctly.
right?
Ooh,
Cool.
good. It's French, so I'm not even going to try. I'm horrible with all things French, except for some French philosophy.
Can I read out a couple of quotes about women before we go to our main subject?
I would love to.
Okay, thank you. So, women are made to be loved, not understood. Oscar Wilde.
Amen to that.
What do you
what
guys
is that?
think?
What is that? I'm really interested in understanding what that means. Because
I
maybe,
bet Charlotte
maybe
wouldn't agree with this
women
one.
are meant to be loved. I think like all. If we're going to take a feminist approach to it, which is really like a humanitarian approach to it, I would say people are meant to be loved, not because love is, you don't understand. How can you understand love? It's not something you control. It just
and
happens.
that's, I was going to say this brings up this. I'm going to be throwing out the word dichotomy here a lot today, probably. Splitting something into two. I think it's kind of based on a false dichotomy. I mean, you can either love something or you understand it, or you understand it or you don't understand it.
Can it be both? You love and don't understand it?
Or
I think
love
that's the
and
point. I think that's
understand.
the point
Yes, that's
here.
right.
You
That's
know,
right.
It's understand something to what level, to what point. I don't think we ever have complete understanding of anything. But then the whole difference between rational and emotional is seen in here as well. That other kind of false dichotomy, and it's not an either or; it's more of a spectrum. So yes, men will a lot of times have a hard time understanding women. But
maybe that gives a pinch
we
of
love you.
mystery
But we
to
love
us,
you.
right? Thank you.
but I mean, because we aren't one. So can you really fully understand anything that you don't have, like kind of firsthand experience of?
Okay. We don't understand you guys sometimes as well, so take it easy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Here's another one.
It goes both ways.
By Hillary Clinton. Women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. Why is it untapped?
Was it untapped? Well, that's an interesting statement. For me, I would say that overlooked perhaps instead of untapped, because or perhaps like even not what's the word where you delegated, like it's like give women roles in leadership, give women delegated roles that are organizing things. And I think she might be saying that because she didn't get the presidency.
When is this from? When is this quote from? Does anybody know? Yeah. No, I mean, again, I think it comes down to untapped reservoir of talent. To a certain extent, yes, because in the past, women have been kind of kept from being in certain places, levels and whatever. But at the same time, women a lot of times have talent for other things that men just don't do or don't want to do or don't, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
This is like a
history thing.
Yeah.
And we're ready for a break, but we'll be back pretty soon to discuss a lot of things. So stay tuned. The Great American Weekend.
So then I tell the bartender, no, you keep the change.
Guys, I don't get it.
Ina, it's an American thing.
Learn more about American humor on Great American Weekend.
Yeah, it's an American thing because we are in the Great American Weekend.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend here on Radio Von 103.1.
Oh, yeah.
We'd like to read you a quote we had prepared from President Jimmy Carter's presidential proclamation, who founded the National Women's History Week in the U.S. From the first settlers who came to our shores, from the first American Indian families who befriended them, men and women have worked together to build this nation. Too often, the women were unsung and sometimes their contributions went unnoticed. But the achievements, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as of the men whose names we know so well. That was my attempt.
That was in 1980 when Jimmy Carter declared the first Women's History Week as a national celebration to bring attention to the contributions of women to American history. And that was kind of the culmination of a few other events that had happened earlier. The first International Women's Day, celebrated on March 8th, was in 1911, and that was put together in New York primarily by the Socialist Party of America.
Socialists.
Yeah, those socialists. Bernie Sanders. And there were International Women's Day celebrations or Women's Day celebrations in the U.S. before that. There were a few, for a few years before that, but they weren't on March 8th. And then the United Nations adopted International Women's Day as an international holiday in 1975. Then in 1978, the school district of Sonoma, California, right out there in wine country, started Women's History Week. And it slowly spread over the next couple of years. In 1979, a 15-day conference was held on women's history by the Smithsonian Institute and Sarah Lawrence College.
Great college.
Yeah, and then that happened. That happened, I believe, in the summer, and it geared everything up for the proclamation in 1980 to have Women's History Week as a declared national celebration by Jimmy Carter.
Then a week, then a month, then a year.
Women's Year.
Why don't we do a year?
That would be interesting. Like every decade, select like this is a Women's Year. Maybe have it like how like the European Parliament has like a different president from each country inside of that. Have like an international women's year. Like each decade, there's like a different, a different gender, I guess. I don't know. Like that's like the celebration of like that.
Every year, there's a different gender for an entire decade.
Wait, no, for a year. For each decade.
Each decade.
For a year.
1 year.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You guys agreed on something.
That happens.
We usually do.
By
That
accident, sometimes.
Oh, no, I agree with everything you say sometimes.
Sometimes. There's that disclaimer sometimes. Sometimes. Now, we had, Ina, you had another quote.
Yeah, I actually did. And I think it was funny. Let me read it out. A woman is like a tea bag. You can't tell how strong she is until you put her in hot water, by Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a little bit of hesitancy amongst us whether we should share that quote or not, because comparing women to tea bags, whatever. But you have to remember.
What do you think?
Oh,
Because he keeps silent and he pretends like, I'm not here.
I didn't want to go there, but since you invited me, I'd like to take it there now.
She didn't invite you. She dragged you.
Teabagging.
Thank you. This is a woman's month, okay? I can do whatever I want here in the studio even.
And I respect your wishes,
thank you.
I respect your ability to exercise your right to express yourself freely and to achieve whatever you would wish as a woman and as a human being.
One of those things, like talking about great American women, Eleanor Roosevelt is really, and she was the wife of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who is one of America's greatest presidents. The longest serving president in U.S. history, the only one to serve more than 2 terms in office. And she was a very intelligent and intellectual, well-educated woman. But she also had this knack, just like her husband's second or third cousin, Teddy Roosevelt, who was an earlier president of the United States. She had this ability to talk to the common people in a way that they would understand. So I mean,
now I understand the teabag thing.
Comparing women to teabags might, in this day and age, be seen as being a little demeaning or something. But it was a way for her to have this metaphor, this analogy that people would just understand, just like that. She wrote a daily column for a long time while her husband was president. She toured around the country, actually probably a lot more than he did. And she was a huge champion of equal rights for women, for African Americans, and for more economic equality. And she was one of, after the Second World War ended and the United Nations was formed, she was instrumental in a lot of that organization of the United Nations. She also was one of the drafters of the International Declaration of Human Rights, which bringing back, the idea that, well, women's rights are human rights. And so from the middle of last century, one of the greatest women in America to work for women's rights and women's equality was also a person who made a great contribution to human rights in general.
And we're ready for another break. Just keep in mind that we're going to discuss women's rights, and this is the Women's History Month episode. So stay tuned, and do not forget we have a very interesting guest later on.
Charlotte Poulain from ONEArmenia.
Charlotte
in
Poulain.
the studio this week.
I love her last name. Hey, where are you off to?
I'm playing soccer.
You lost your sock?
No, I'm playing soccer. What you call football?
No, you don't say soccer. You say football.
Join us on the Great American Weekend and learn about different sports from America and around the world.
Madonna, yes, she is one of the most hardworking people and women that I know of. And let me just say a few things about Madonna. This is the Great American Weekend, and we continue with women. So Rolling Stone magazine listed her among the 100 greatest artists of all time and the 100 greatest songwriters of all time. The Guinness World Records acknowledged her as the best-selling female recording artist of all time. She has also scored 38 top 10 singles on the Hot 100, more than any other artist in history. Madonna has also won 7 Grammy Awards and 20 MTV Video Music Awards. According to the Recording Industry Association of America, she is the best-selling female rock artist of the 20th century and the second top-selling female album artist in the United States, with 64.5 million certified albums.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a list of accomplishments.
Yeah, she
So-
can be proud of herself.
Yeah,
A
and
woman leader.
A woman leader.
That,
really.
and that's one of the songs, the song that we just played, that I'm not very familiar with. Of
And
hers.
this is one of my favorite songs
Okay.
by Madonna, so I chose it.
I mean, when she
And the guys didn't mind.
no, it's a good song. I just, late 90s, I really started to kind of distance myself from pop music and go more
Yeah.
into jazz and rock and different stuff like that. So I lost her track at some point there and don't know a lot of her new stuff. But, you hear it and she's still solid. She still does good work.
Yeah, and she's up to making a new album and world tours, so she's really active still.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm inspired by women who can make an impact to such a degree where most people around the world, especially from the pop influence, they have such a broad audience where what they say and what they do becomes kind of godly in a way. She's a goddess in a way, and there are people that actually worship her as an artist. So there's a lot of responsibility that that arises from that.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, it's like the quote with the John Lennon quote that he got in so much trouble for. When the Beatles were at the height of their popularity, he said, "Hey, we're bigger than Jesus."
Yeah.
we're bigger than Jesus.
And
That's more
people
of a
were like,
Ringo
"Oh,
style.
they're comparing themselves to Jesus. They're saying they're gods." Well, not really. He was just saying we have more influence right now than typical religion does, just because of pop culture and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, to say that Madonna is like a goddess is like that. I mean, okay, no, she's not divine.
No,
It's
she's not.
It's not a religion.
That's for sure.
But pop culture has so much sway and so much power
So many
in the
people
world
look
today.
up to
Yeah,
her.
yeah. That when you are at the top of the game of pop culture, like she has been for so long, you have the influence that gods used to have.
And earlier I was talking with Armast during our break. She doesn't have a really strong vocals. It's all about her being a real hard worker. So these kind of examples make us believe that we can achieve things actually by just being a hard worker, persevering and doing what we moving towards our goal.
Yeah,
So-
pure talent wise. I mean, it's not like she can out-sing a lot of people out there.
Right.
But it's, like you said, it's knowing her strengths and working hard. Yeah.
This is true. Work hard and achieve.
So what is feminism actually?
Whoa, that's an interesting question.
Are we ready to talk about this?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Because for me, it's interesting. I remember seeing or hearing this quote at some point about feminism, which really struck me. And the quote was something along the lines of, "A true feminist is an anti-feminist because she does not adhere to any one single ideology or established ideology."
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and this was by a woman who was a feminist herself. I forget who said the quote, and I've searched for it and I can't find it. But I think at the core, for me, how I understand feminism to be is about total equality, about equal opportunities, and for women as equal to men. And in that way, it produces not a masculine or feminine dichotomy, but it actually creates a kind of humanitarian and egalitarian approach to offering possibilities to humans, to people, and accepting them as truly equal. And I think for me, that's what really is at the core of feminism, is that total equality that exists there. But I'm curious to hear your perspective, as a woman. What's feminism to you?
One of my, I would like to bring up one of my friend's comments that I read recently, because one of my other friend just wrote, "Congratulations to our women, to our wives, to mothers, sisters, and aunts, and whatever." And what she wrote was, the labels mother, wife, daughter define us as separate and not equal to men. They label us as property of men or subordinate to men in many ways. And many cultures, men should not have to view women as wives, daughters, or mothers in order for women to garner respect and admiration as a woman. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like what you said, continuation of what you said, Hazva.
In a way, yeah.
Not to label feminism or not to label woman, just to take her as a human being who has equal rights for anything.
So for me, I always had a real tough time saying this. Hey, this is my wife. Because but there was something about it, just the way I said, like, oh, I gotta ask my wife, or I gotta talk to my wife, and this concept of wife, the word wife for me, it sounded
another label.
It actually had this. It for me somehow, I don't know how, but it sounded to me as if this is my wife. It's like almost like this is my ball and chain. Like it sounded like an object that I was attached. And I took to using the term my partner. Because for me that's what it was
general?
like. Yeah, that's what it was like. It's like, this is my life partner.
Yeah, but I mean, my thing is, okay, in the past, and so the word wife has some baggage with it then, apparently, for a lot of people, I guess. I don't think it's ever had that for me. I mean, what's the difference between wife and partner? What's the difference between partner and brother? I've never seen that, and part of, I think, the problem with, and I couldn't help myself when you were reading that out. We are getting locked into these old definitions of the term, which we need to make sure that we get over. But we do need to get over them. I mean, to be able to call someone your wife and not feel like you're demeaning that person, I think is absolutely important. But again, I think it has a lot to do with the way that women's contributions to society have been overlooked or not taken seriously. Women stay at home and cook and clean and raise the children. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah. In my opinion, in my experience, that is a really, really important job.
Of course.
They don't get paid for it. But that is incredibly important, because
that's a 24-hour job.
Exactly. I mean, who raises the children? And it should be both women and men that are involved in that. But who raises the children? That's who creates society.
If I could just for a moment,
5 seconds.
It's simply offering the choice for a woman to choose what role to take, and how we reinforce the stereotypes creates the roles that are followed. And so when we talk about a woman as a leader of a CEO or being an inventor, it's different than if we create an example of a housewife, which is an important role as well. So I think that's the distinction, is how much airtime we give to the housewife role as opposed to the CEO, the leader, or like someone who we have a guest today, Charlotte Poulain, who's going to be sitting with us today from ONEArmenia, who's the in-country director of an organization. So I think it's about how we advertise those roles and how we encourage and support those roles in the young women in our life.
Choice and flexibility is important, but the responsibilities still have to be taken care of.
And now we're responsible for our next song, Empire State of Mind. Jay-Z featuring Alicia Keys. New York. Stay tuned. The Great American Weekend.
Hello, all you lovely people out there. This is the Great American Weekend. And for all you Americanophiles, we've got a episode revolving around International Women's Day and Women's History Month. And we've got a segment here for you, all you listeners in here and around the world, about Armenian American women leaders, as prepared by our very own Ina MK. Ina, I'm really curious to hear about these different great contributors of Armenian descent in American history.
Hey, Hazva, you know, we as Armenians, we love to dig in stuff and find things that are have been done first by Armenians and finding Armenian last names, and we're really fond of doing this because
it's like a hobby and a pastime of Armenians, looking at the ending credits of films and like finding the Armenian and everything.
So
Spot the
before
Armenian.
getting to
There's got to be one there someplace.
Yeah, somewhere.
Where's Waldo
Even
Young?
when we watch the movie and at the end you read the cast and see, is there an Armenian last name? Is there an Armenian last name? Okay, so before getting to the subject of Armenian American women leaders, I would like to share a story about Diana Apgar. She was an Armenian writer, diplomat, and ambassador to Japan of the short-lived First Republic of Armenia back in 1918-1920s. When the Republic of Armenia gained independence on 28th of May, Armenia was not recognized by any international state. Yet in 1920, through Apgar's effort, Japan became one of the first nations to recognize the new republic's independence. This is when Apgar was appointed to be the honorary consul to Japan. This made Diana Apgar the first Armenian woman diplomat and quite possibly the first woman to have ever been appointed in any diplomatic post in the century. So, however, after Armenia's Sovietization in the 1920s, her post was immediately terminated.
Well, as we're the American weekend, we know that the Soviet influence can affect anyone, even the first American diplomat. That's so impressive, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, like to potentially be the first woman diplomat of the century. That's kind of.
But I've got even a more impressive fact here. So one of the Armenian American women leaders was Anna Der Vartanyan, who was the first woman, attention, in the United States to achieve the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer, the highest rank for enlisted personnel in the U.S. Navy. Can you imagine?
That's pretty huge, too.
Yeah.
That's huge.
She was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and joined the Navy through the Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service program during World War II. Although she faced challenges during her military service, we all understand why, because she was a woman. Her steadfastness and discipline gained her the respect of her peers and ranking officers.
I can't get over that name for the highest ranking official. And first of all, I can't get over the fact that the first woman to ever achieve the highest rank in the Navy was an Armenian American. That's impressive. And then the name, Master Chief Petty Officer.
Yeah.
It just sounds it sounds like the cousin of MasterSteve or something.
No relation.
But plus, she was awarded the National Defense Medal as well as many other military awards for her service. As an exemplary female soldier, she is remembered for blazing a path for women in the United States military. She was buried at Arlington National Cemetery with full military honors.
Wow. So for all your listeners out there, the inclusion of women in the U.S. military was partially spearheaded by an Armenian American woman named Anna Der Vartanyan.
Yeah, so thank you, Anna. And, there's an interesting fact. After her career in Navy, she joined the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, where she worked
one of our sponsors.
Come on, Irma. She worked there until retirement. So.
Ouch. One of our sponsors.
Thanks so much.
So what else do you
Thanks
have
for your
us?
humor, Arma.
What else do you have for us, Ina?
Sure.
She can't be the only one.
I also have information on Cher.
Oh, I love pop.
But is she Armenian?
She is. Charlene Sarkisian is an American singer and actress. commonly referred to by the media as the goddess of pop. You mentioned
I mean,
goddess
when you
before.
say Cher, it's like
It's like
everyone in the showbiz industry is just like, oh my God, she's like they go crazy over her.
Yeah.
Or did. I don't know.
Did.
I mean, it's just
but
kinda-
yeah.
I mean, still do
haven't-
their respect,
haven't seen
but, like,
much of her this decade.
recently. Yeah, exactly.
But
And
for-
I hope she doesn't mind our advertisement break, because we're going to come back on the information on Cher right after our break. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend.
Hey, what kind of fixins do you like on your hot dog?
Fixins?
Yeah, relish, onions, mustard, ketchup, condiments.
Conda?
No, not that.
Oh, fixins. I love chili dogs.
Learn about American cuisine on the Great American Weekend.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend on Radio Von 103.1.
Thank you, Stephen.
And as promised before the commercial break, Ina MK has...
Yeah, I've got some Armenian pride to share with you. So let's
Whoop,
continue with Sherlene Sarkisian. She has been described as embodying female autonomy, autonomy in a male-dominated industry. She's known for her distinctive contralto singing voice and for having worked in numerous areas of entertainment, as well as adopting a variety of styles and appearances during her 6-decade-long career. Cher has won a Grammy Award, an Emmy Award, an Academy Award, 3 Golden Globe Awards, a Cannes Film Festival Award, a special CFDA Fashion Award, and a Kennedy Center Honors Prize, among several other honors.
And there's a lot about that sounds similar to someone we were talking about earlier in the show.
Right.
I mean, all these different awards. Not only that, but just like Madonna, Cher's career spanned decades. She had great staying power, and she also was able to reinvent herself, which is part of, in the entertainment industry, that's part of how you keep yourself relevant decade after decade, by reinventing yourself.
So it's all about working hard again. She has sold over 100 million records worldwide to date, becoming one of the best-selling music artists in history. She is the only artist to date to have a #1 single on a Billboard chart in 6 consecutive decades, from the 1960s to the 2010s.
That is incredible.
That is so impressive.
60 years
Wow.
of #1 hits.
Wow.
And outside of her music and acting, she's noted for her political views, philanthropic endeavors, and social activism, including LGBT rights and HIV/AIDS prevention. Cher's primary philanthropic endeavors have included support of health research and patients' quality of life, anti-poverty initiatives, veterans' rights, and vulnerable children.
Can I read this quote?
Sure.
There's a quote by a biographer, Mark Bego, about Cher. And he writes, "No one in the history of show business has had a career of the magnitude and scope of Cher's. She has been a teenage pop star, a television hostess, a fashion magazine model, a rock star, a pop singer, a Broadway actress, an Academy Award-winning movie star, a disco sensation, and the subject of a mountain of press coverage." That's pretty impressive,
Wow.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Mark Bego has an accent like that, but I thought that would be great. It would be fun.
And we always enjoy your accents.
Oh, thank you.
Hazva. So great. This is all I have. Of course, we have a huge list, but as always.
But I think now the Great American Weekend is going to move into news and current events.
Great. Well,
I suggest before we start, I suggest to have one news each, so that we have enough time to...
I love curveballs. You know I love curveballs so much.
That's a nice suggestion, but
it just makes me feel so great about being next on the news right now. So I'll
go for it.
So what we got now, and basically, It's Elon Musk. I'm sure you guys heard of Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the CEO of several companies, formerly Solar City that got adopted by Tesla, absorbed by Tesla. He's the Boring Company and SpaceX. So this one's about the Boring Company.
Why is it called Boring Company?
So it's a good question, actually. It's a play on words. And
Steven is bored.
so bored to death. Yeah, there are two words. So bore is both to make someone tired of something that's redundant, or also to dig deeply into the ground. So there's two meanings with the word bore. It's a play on words. But and he does that a lot with his companies too. SpaceX is specifically named that so that people can say the word sex during it, because in his mind sex sells. So SpaceX is specifically named that so that it's not X space. Anyway, so the Boring Company, Elon Musk's first tunnel with the Boring Company, has its best chance of coming to Las Vegas. So the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority recommended using the Boring Company's tunnel design for remodeling its facility. The tunnel would cover about 2 miles and cost far less than other proposals for doing this type of transportation project. What's interesting is that it's the first project of this type for Elon Musk. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually create something out of that desert space over there in Las Vegas and bore some tunnels with the Boring Company.
Well, I think part of the reason why they want to bore the tunnels underneath is because they want people to be able to get from the Strip right into downtown, out a little ways to this new convention center or whatever that they're building. And the roads, I mean, if any of you have ever been to Las Vegas and seen the Las Vegas Strip, it's packed. They can't widen the roads. They put, I think, a monorail system there, which didn't go over very well. So public transportation doesn't work very well in Las Vegas, and they can't widen the roads. So this is kind of an alternative to that. But Elon Musk, despite having his start in online internet payments, because if I remember correctly, he was the founder of PayPal, and that's where he made all of his money, and then he's been branching out into a lot of other things since then. But a lot of them seem to be focused on transportation, actually.
I mean, if you really think about it, Elon Musk, his projects are all about the future of building a globe somewhere else. So it's about traveling there. It's about digging tunnel systems to create your own vacuum space. It's about storing energy, and it's about living off of electricity, which is also something that can be generated from the sun. So I think this guy is very far-seeing. He's a futurist indeed, and this
he's definitely a futurist.
This news is definitely.
He's got the Boring Company. Mm-hmm. He's got Tesla Motors,
Solar City.
And Solar City. He also has SpaceX, which you mentioned before, and that was in the news this past week because SpaceX has been putting satellites up into the air for the U.S. government and U.S. companies for several years now. But what they're hopefully going to be doing by the end of this year is putting astronauts back up in space. Last Saturday, SpaceX launched the Falcon 9 rocket up into space with the Dragon crew capsule on it. And this is a big deal because ever since 2011, when NASA, the United States Space Agency, retired the space shuttles, which were just an iconic kind of groundbreaking mode of space transportation. Ever since they retired those in 2011, the U.S. has been having to rely on Russians to put their astronauts up into space, to bring them to the International Space Station and then to bring them home. And in fact, the International Space Station itself has been relying mostly on Russian rockets to bring supplies. Now, SpaceX is starting to fill some of that gap, and they've been contracted by NASA to develop these rockets. And the rocket went up with this Dragon crew capsule on it and a dummy inside with a bunch of sensors in it to see, like a mannequin with sensors in it, to see how the ride would treat a human body. It went up there. It docked successfully with the International Space Station, delivered supplies, undocked, and then just landed back in the ocean near Cape Canaveral, Florida, which is where it was launched from yesterday. So it was a successful mission. Everything seems to have gone well. So the United States will be sending their own astronauts back up into space, hopefully by the end of this year, thanks in part to the creativity, ingenuity, and very fat wallet of Elon Musk.
Definitely. Have you ever guys dreamt of flying to space?
Yeah.
As a child?
Yeah, I definitely have, yeah. Definitely
I mean, that was one of the things, the space shuttles, when I was a kid, were just the coolest thing.
Yeah, yeah. But this is far out in another way. So this connects on a couple different levels. There's an American woman, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's an American woman in Saudi Arabia who, after divorcing her husband, is not allowed to leave the country. Have you heard?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about this.
So apparently, there's this woman, Bethany Vieira, who was originally from Washington State in the U.S., and she's been living in Saudi Arabia since 2011 because she moved there for a teaching job. Mm-hmm. So she marries a guy that's from there. They get a divorce, and then she's been stuck there because of Saudi Arabia's strict guardianship rules. And the system means that Saudi women are often only as free as their male guardians, which can include husbands, fathers, or their male relatives allow them to be. So if you are an American woman married to a Saudi man and you're living in the country, then if you want to leave, you have to either apply to the consul services
or apply to your ex-husband.
Yeah, or apply to your ex-husband. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem with this, or part of where the problem originates, is that she got a Saudi passport and Saudi citizenship. If she was just an American citizen and was living there on a visa, then I don't think she would have this problem, with the exception of the fact that her daughter is a Saudi citizen by being born there, and so she would need the permission of her ex-husband to take him out of the country. But
do not change your American citizenship.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think even in the U.S.
Sometimes.
Even in the U.S. or even here, you need permission to take minor children, out of the country. You need permission of their other parent.
Of the other parent, right.
I just think it's completely crazy that I know that it's cultural, and I know that it's something that is specific to Saudi Arabia, but to not allow someone mobility, and the freedom, it's really kind of something that is so archaic and absurd to me. I can't fathom how that's possible. But this,
I mean, if they're over the age of 18.
Right.
You don't have children. You don't understand.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We have a comment by Eva Only, who says, "Hi, we support Trump in Armenia. Cheers." Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Making America great again.
Yeah.
Make it America.
With all of the Armenian support.
Our show is
Making
working.
America godless again. Jesus.
Godless again. Jesus.
Jesus. So controversial. Okay.
So what else do we have in the news? Ina, do you have something for us?
Of course. If you guys are ready, I'm ready to share my local news with you. The Brazilian samba school Rosas de Ouro presented Armenia at the Sao Paulo Carnival. Held under the motto Viva Hayastan. Hayastan means Armenia. In Armenian, the event featured 5 themes: paradise, Armenian heroes, Christianity, culture in Armenian square, Estakao Armenia reports. The front line made a reference to the Armenian genocide. The carnival presented different aspects of Armenian culture, including the Armenian alphabet, rugs, Mountain Arad, and even referring to Charles Aznavour. Charles Aznavour. The Rosas de Oro Society is a samba school that was formed in 1975. So this is really exciting for Armenians to have this segment in this carnival, and I've watched the video. It's really colorful and fun to watch. And here is another one. Famous French singers for Charles Aznavour. So famous French singers Patrick Fiori, Hélène Ségara, Léa Castel, and other will perform in Yerevan on the 95th birthday anniversary of renowned French Armenian singer Charles Aznavour. Aznavour has passed away at the age of 94, October 1st in 2018. The concert for You Aznavour will take place in the Karen Demircan Sport and Concert Complex on May 26th. So make sure you purchase your tickets.
Yeah.
And French singers will perform with the Armenian Philharmonic Orchestra led by conductor Eduard Topchan. The concert is also planned to be held not only in Yerevan but also in Moscow and Paris. So
taking it international.
Yeah, thanks to the organizers. It's a really great idea.
Yeah. And if I could, I'd like to round out our news segment with one last piece of news from the U.S. Hillary Clinton announced this week that she is not running for president again.
Oh.
Yeah. But, don't let any of you feminists out there be disappointed. There are more female candidates in the race right now than I think there have ever been before.
I wonder why she did that.
We've got Tulsi Gabbard. I think she's old
tired.
and tired,
Yeah.
and she should be, because it's been a
She wants to enjoy her life.
and she should. She's got grandkids now. And
She deserves
She's
it.
the same age as Trump, no? They're like right around the same age, no?
Yeah, they are. I
They're
believe.
both very old and tired,
Yeah.
I guess.
No comment. Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii. She's a senator. She's running. Kristen Gillibrand. She's a senator from New York who actually took Hillary Clinton's Senate seat when she left to be Secretary of State. We've got Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar. I can never pronounce her name properly, even though she's a senator from Minnesota. Kamala Harris is a senator from California, and Elizabeth Warren is also running.
Great. So you girls out there still have a chance to vote for your favorite woman. And we're about to go on an advertisement break. We'll come back with one more segment before we welcome our guest, Charlotte
Poulain.
Charlotte
Director,
Poulain.
in-country director of ONEArmenia, and an example of a woman leader.
Stay tuned.
Радио Ван. Радио Ван. Нас слушают разные.
Դիկլակ 5% տոնդողը ազատում է մեջքի ցավից և հոդերի բորբոքումից։ Քսեք դիկլակը օրը 3 անգամ և վերադարձրեք ձեր ազատ շարժվելու ունակությունը։ Դիկլակ, քայլ առանց ցավի։
Դեղն ունի հակացություններ, այն օգտագործելուց առաջ նպատակահարմար է խորհրդակցել ձեր բուժող բժշկի հետ։ Գովազդի թույլտվություն DG00004 տրված 1 փետրվար 2019-ին։
Տարին մեկ անգամ լինել Իսպանիայում հրաշալի է։ Ամեն օր վայելել իսպանական միջավայրը երջանկություն։
Նոր տուն խանութների ցանցն ընձեռում է քեզ հիանալի հնարավորություն։ Վերանորոգիր բնակարանդ իսպանական սալիկներով ու ստացիր 90% զեղչ յուրաքանչյուր երրորդ քառակուսու համար։ Սկսիր վերանորոգումդ հենց հիմա։ Այցելիր նոր տուն սրահներից քեզ ամենամոտն ու խնայիր 90% գումար յուրաքանչյուր երրորդ քառակուսու համար։
Իսպանական սալիկներ նոր տանը։ Ավելի լավ, քան հարևանիդ տանը։
Ներբեռնեք Bedconstruct ընկերության նոր Vibloot հավելվածը։ Խաղացեք անվճար, ձեռք բերեք նոր ընկերներ և շփումներ, հաճելի և օգտակար դարձնելով ձեր ազատ ժամանակը։ Vibloot.com, ժամանցի լավագույն հասցեն։
Գարնանային առաջարկ կանանց միամսյակին ընթരാճ Vivassel MTS-ից։ Գնեք 50,000 դրամ եւ ավելի արժողությամբ բջջային սարքեր մեր սպասարկման կենտրոններում Ineco բանկի միջոցով ապարիկ 0% կանխավճարով եւ առաջին 12 ամսվա ընթացքում 0% տարեկան դրույքով ու 0% ամսական սպասարկման վճարով։ Առաջարկը գործում է մինչեւ ապրիլի 7-ը ներառյալ։ Vivassel MTS, սմարթֆոններ եւ ոչ միայն։
Յունիբանկի շահավետ առաջարկները շարունակվում են։ Այժմ ձեզ ենք առաջարկում սպառողական անկանխիկ վարկ, որը տրամադրվում է անմիջապես բանկ դիմելու օրը։ Գումարի չափը մինչև 1 միլիոն դրամ, մարման ժամկետը մինչև 48 ամիս, տարեկան տոկոսադրույքը ընդամենը 15%։ Վարկը կարող եք ստանալ ներկայացնելով միայն անձնագիր եւ սոցքարտ։ Մանրամասները 59 55 55 կամ 3w.unibank.am։ Փաստացի տոկոսադրույք 23.1-ից 23.8%։ Անհրաժեշտության դեպքում բանկը կարող է պահանջել նաև այլ փաստաթղթեր։
Թաքնված կանձերը սպասում են քեզ Աջարաբեդում։ Այցելիր աջարաբեդ.am, ստացիր կրկնակի շատ բանալիներ, բացիր առեղծվածային արկղերը եւ շահիր անսահմանափակ մրցանակներ։ Աջարաբեդ.am, միշտ ստացիր ավելին։
Գարնանային տոներին ընթരാճ Mobile Center-ը հայտարարում է մինչև 50% զեղչ նշված տեսականու համար։ Մարտի 6-ից 9 ներառյալ շտապեք գնել ձեր սիրելիների նվերները մեր սրահներից։ Քանակը սահմանափակ է։ Mobile Center, բջջային հեռախոսների եւ աքսեսուարների խանութների ամենամեծ ցանցը Հայաստանում։
Կիսեք ինտերնետը ձեր սիրելիի հետ, նույնիսկ երբ իրարից հեռու եք։ Մինչև ապրիլի 7-ը բաժանորդագրվեք YouGo 7500 սակագնային պլանին եւ ստացեք 2 քարտ 70 գիգաբայթ ինտերնետը կիսելու համար։ Ucom ինտերնետ 2-ի համար։ Մանրամասների համար ucom.am։
Для рекламы звоните 540002.
Oh, say, can you see?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed?
Anamast, what are you doing?
He's trying not to forget where he came from.
Yeah, we're all trying to not forget where we came from.
Trying to forget where we came from over here on the Great American Weekend, y'all.
Self-induced amnesia.
Armas, why don't you read the news on the genocide survivor?
You know, I was actually thinking about reading the Boston community.
Okay,
can I do
go
that
for
one?
it.
I'm kind of curious about that one. So Boston, the Boston community, there's a very old Armenian community in America. In Boston.
I thought it was L.A.
One of the oldest actually is in
Okay.
Boston.
It's in Boston, yeah, in Watertown.
You know better.
In Watertown, Massachusetts, and the Boston Armenian community hosted its first ever Dolma Fest. Dolma or Sarma, they're both the same thing. But so Armenians in the greater Boston area spent the Sunday afternoon before Great Lent feasting and voting on the best homemade dolma in town. The first ever Dolma Fest featured the treasured multi-generational recipes of 9 Armenian women.
Yeah, women again. Woohoo!
dishing out in a friendly contest. Yeah, goes. That's cause for celebration. On a friendly contest at Belmont's Holy Cross Armenia Catholic Church. Shout out to Belmont's Holy Cross Armenian Catholic Church. For those Dolma refers to the popular appetizer made of grape leaves packed with rice, ground meat, and spices, and it's wrapped and rolled into the shape of cigarettes or cigars, depending on the preference, or sometimes bigger.
Yeah.
In Lebanese, Armenian, and Syrian Armenian families in diaspora, it's known as sarma, which I mentioned earlier. And then there's a meatless version for Lent, which is called the yalanchi. The organizers...
Basuts dolma, or basuts.
Yeah, Lenten dolma.
Yeah.
Or basus dolma, yes, that's true. Or baki dolma, which is like the Lent dolma.
So they stuffed themselves silly last, what was it, Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah.
On
it was the Last Supper.
On meat-filled dolma before Lent started, and they all have to do the Lenten fast where they don't eat meat for...
And there were even winners of this contest. One of the women won the first place and had got $200 prize.
If I may make a play on words here, they were stuffed up with stuffed stuffs. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Applause.
Well, yeah, and what is, I mean, stuffed?
Applause for you, Aramas.
We have applause.
Yeah.
Oh, we have applause?
All of a sudden, we have
Do
an
we have a
invisible
laugh track?
studio.
Can we start working with that?
We've got an invisible studio audience.
You've had this all along.
No wonder
and
I
you
felt
haven't told
really
us?
cramped in
Oh
here.
my
A surprise. Women for applause. Okay. And I have another news for today, which is for the past week, Armenian genocide survivor dies in U.S. at the age of 104. Can you imagine?
Oh.
So a 104-year-old Milwaukee photographer who survived the Armenian genocide shot photos of President Franklin Roosevelt and saw Babe Ruth play at Yankee Stadium has died in Wisconsin, U.S. His name was Artin Haik. He died Monday, March 4th of natural causes at St. John's on the Lake, where he lived. Haik would have turned 105, oh my goodness, in August. He has 4 daughters, 9 grandchildren, 17 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-great-granddaughter. What a wealth.
Yeah, and it's just amazing the things that he was able to witness in his life. I mean, especially after surviving the genocide, that tragedy and horrible experience, and escaping to the U.S., but then just, I saw another list, there were other important events that he was able to see, but Franklin Delano Roosevelt, photographing him, and seeing Babe Ruth, you know, probably the best baseball player of all time.
He was a lucky man.
For those of you in our audience who don't know anything about baseball, don't feel bad. You know, when the season starts in about a month, we'll have an episode all about baseball.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know. And right now we're ready for another break. And after that, we'll welcome
Charlotte Poulain, in-country director of ONEArmenia and a woman leader in Armenia as well. Stay tuned.
A woman leader in our studio in a few minutes.
Radio One. Ով քնած է, արթուն կացեք, ով արթուն է, շուտ հագնվեք, հագնվել եք, կարաս եկեք, ու 4 բաժին խաշ պատվիրեք, հետո չասեք, թե մենք քնած, մեր նվերը տենց էլ մնաց։
Այցելեք կարաս ցանկացած մասնաճյուղ, պատվիրեք 4 բաժին խաշ եւ ստացեք նվեր կես լիտր լավ տրամադրություն։
Радио Ван. Нас слушают вежливые.
Տարին մեկ անգամ լինել Իսպանիայում հրաշալի է։ Ամեն օր վայելել իսպանական միջավայրը երջանկություն։
Նոր տուն խանութների ցանցն ընձեռում է քեզ հիանալի հնարավորություն։ Վերանորոգիր բնակարանդ իսպանական սալիկներով ու ստացիր 90% զեղչ յուրաքանչյուր երրորդ քառակուսու համար։ Սկսիր վերանորոգումը հենց հիմա։ Այցելիր նոր տուն սրահներից քեզ ամենամոտն ու խնայիր 90% գումար յուրաքանչյուր երրորդ քառակուսու համար։
Իսպանական սալիկներ նոր տանը, ավելի լավ, քան հարևանիդ տանը։
Թաքնված գանձերը սպասում են քեզ Աջարաբեդում։ Այցելիր HazvaQT, ստացիր կրկնակի շատ բանալիներ, բացիր առեղծվածային արկղերը եւ շահիր անսահմանափակ մրցանակներ։ HazvaQT, միշտ ստացիր ավելին։
Մարտի 15-ից մինչև 31-ը բոնուս քարտով կատարեք 5000 դրամի եւ ավելի միանվագ գնումներ Նատալի Ֆարմ դեղատներում եւ ստացեք 15000 դրամի նվեր տեսողության անվճար ստուգման հնարավորություն Աստղիկ բժշկական կենտրոնի ակնաբուժական բաժանմունքում։ Տեղեկատու հեռախոս 055 55 64 93։
Որքան էլ փորձեք փախչել, միևնույն է, սալիկները փոխելու ժամանակը գալու է։ Դոմուս հիպերմարկետներում ձեռք բերեք սալիկների ամբողջ տեսականին 50-ից 80% զեղչով յուրաքանչյուր երկրորդ քառակուսի մետրի համար։ Դոմուսի հետ տան վերանորոգումը խնդիր չէ։
Ընտրեք ինքնատիպ նվերներ ձեր սիրելիների համար Volmont զարդերի սրահից։ Գարնանային տոների կապակցությամբ Volmont-ում գործում են 20-ից 30% տոնական զեղչեր։ Volmont, Թումանյան 40, Երևան Մոլ, Dalma Garden Mall։
Պատտիր ընկեր, դու նման չտեստված մրցաշարի վաղուց ես սպասել։ 30 միլիոն դրամ մրցանակային ֆոնդ, հեղինակավոր Fashion TV Gaming Group-ի բրենդային խաղեր, աշխարհահռչակ Evolution Gaming-ի ամենահայտնի խաղը վայելելու եւ խոշոր շահումներ գրանցելու բացառիկ հնարավորություն եւ վերջապես հավասար մրցակցային պայմաններ։ Մինչև մարտի 17-ը մասնակցեք Վիվարոյի գարնան ամենաէքսկլյուզիվ եւ շքեղ մրցաշարին եւ փայլեք հաղթանակի հաճույքից։ Մանրամասները VivaroQT կայքում։
Կանանց տոներին ապարի գնումներ ակնթարթային հարագությամբ։ Նորման կրեդիտն առաջարկում է շահեկան պայմաններ ապարի գնումներով։ VLV էլեկտրատեխնիկայի խանութներից գնեք կենցաղային տեխնիկա հաշված վայրկյանների ընթացքում։ Նորման կրեդիտ, այլևս պետք չէ հետաձգել անհրաժեշտ գնումները։ Մանրամասների համար դիմեք Նորման кредит, сайт Nova 12, հեռախոս 011 99 99 10, կայք Norman Credit KTM։
Для рекламы звоните 540002.
What's the best word in American English?
My all-time favorite word is but I usually refer to it as lovemaking.
Become more fluent in American English and slang.
We're back in our studio, ready to welcome our guest. Hello, good evening, Charlotte.
Charlotte Poulain.
Charlotte.
We have on.
I keep saying it the wrong way.
We're gonna have to do some vocal coaching on that one, but it's very
Charlotte.
It's a great honor to have you on our show. Thank you very much for being here, Charlotte.
Thank you for inviting me.
For all the listeners out there, Charlotte Poulain is the in-country director of
Operations Director.
In-country operations director of. ONEArmenia, an organization that is doing great work here in Armenia. Charlotte, I wanted to ask you if you could tell us a little bit about your work and what you do here with ONEArmenia, because I know there are some really great projects that are happening specifically in Artsakh currently. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. ONEArmenia is a non-profit organization. We've been around in Armenia since 2012. The way we work is that we partner with local organizations here. They implement the projects that we crowdfund for. So typically, I think the project you're referring to now is our demining project in Artsakh. We're doing that with the Halo Trust. So we're basically crowdfunding, asking our global community to pitch in so that we can clear the last remaining minefield at Kavak Monastery, that's in southeast Artsakh. So obviously the ONEArmenia team, we're basically a media team, like we create content around this project. We're not ourselves demining because we would rather, leave that to the experts in that field. So that's the Halo Trust. They've been working in Artsakh since, it's been 18 years now, I think. And so we're partnering with them to help them get some funding and get those mines out.
Oh, that's a great project.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's exceptional, and I know that there are several other projects that you guys have done over the past 5 years now that the organization has been around. And as I understand, the organization was started by it's an American organization that is for Armenia. Is that correct?
Yes, well, it was founded by an American Armenian. Our founder, Patrick Sarkisian, is originally from Chicago. So we're actually registered in both countries. We're registered in the United States and in Armenia. So we function in both countries. I think it works really well because we are a global organization. We managed to get donations from all around the place. Most of our donors are from the United States, but also from different countries. And then, we use these donations in the most cost-efficient way, in the most transparent way as well, to make sure that we implement important projects here in Armenia and in Artsakh.
We had a conversation. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, I had this thought. We had this conversation just outside about using this word "woman leader," and I had used it, and I felt kind of funny about it because it was both. Steve, I was like, it sounds like you're talking about a person leading women, which is true. Is most of the group of ONEArmenia that I know it's comprised of women, but there's something about identifying that it's saying that it makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. It's like, because if I were to say man leader, it would just sound weird. But I think for our theme this week about Women's History Month and having International Women's Day yesterday, Women's Rights Day, I wanted to ask you about your experience as a leader, and what what it's like in the context of your organization, and then also taking on the role of leadership in Armenia.
Right. So I usually never define myself as a leader because I think that's kind of a weird thing to say. I do have a team, like I'm leading the ONEArmenia team in Yerevan, and that kind of came about in an unexpected way. I had been working for ONEArmenia for 2 years already. That was last year when my awesome manager found a job somewhere else at the Halo Trust, actually. So she left the country. And so
it was she again.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing about ONEArmenia, is that it's been a majority of women working for ONEArmenia from the very beginning. For the first 2 years where I was working there, we had a team only of women. Now we have a team of 4 people, and we do have 1 man on the team. But yeah, I think he's maybe the 3rd man to work for ONEArmenia in the past 6 years. But yeah, so I kind of got the position of operations director and started, leading the team, which I try to do, in the most, I guess I'm not really a big, authoritarian person. Like, I don't like to tell people, well, you come in at that time and you do this, because everybody in the team is very professional. So my job is just to tell everyone, what the mission is, like what we're trying to achieve in like a week or a month, and then it's everybody's responsibility to kind of do their work in the most efficient way possible, to communicate with their team members to make sure that the work gets done. I don't know how that compares to, leading a team somewhere else in the world, because I've never had that experience. This is my first managing experience, I guess. So
do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it. At first, I was terrorized. No, because it's true, like I was always working a lot, but when you have to manage other people's workload, it means an extra responsibility. Like there's a lot more. I guess it's a mental workload where you always have to be aware at any time what everybody's struggling with, what everybody's workload is, because if you have a team member who's struggling with 1,000 projects at the same time, then it's your job to tell them, this is not a priority, this is a priority, don't worry about that, I'll do this, and yeah, so that's always like on the back of your mind. Even on the weekend, sometimes if there's an issue, then like I'm the one responsible for that. So that's kind of new. I don't know if that answers your question, actually.
It does. It kind of leads me to my next question, which is more about so Women's Rights Day. For me, it's we had this discussion on air a little earlier about the definition of feminism and how to understand feminism, first wave, second wave, post-feminism, which kind of considers some parts to have been achieved and others not so much, and integrated into society, and just in general the concept of women's rights. So as I understand, you were born and raised in France, is that correct?
Yes.
And you moved here to Armenia about 5 years ago?
4 years ago.
4 years ago. What, if you could tell us first kind of your understanding of feminism in general, because I know it's a broad topic, but as briefly as you can define it, and then what you see in terms of your experience as a woman in France and experience as a woman in Armenia, because this is probably the meatiest part of the conversation that we'll get to.
Sure. Okay, we have about 1 minute, so it's going to be really brief before we get.
But perhaps maybe just define feminism, and then we can return back to it.
Sure. That's a difficult exercise, but well, I don't agree with post-feminism, because I don't believe that anywhere in the world we have achieved equality, gender equality. I don't think we are at that point yet. I think feminism is a beautiful political ideology, meaning that women and men have equal opportunities, equal rights, and that's obviously very broad, but it can, it goes into different segments of society. So, things like equal pay, being free from harassment in the street or in the workplace. Like, I don't think that we're at that point in society, whether it's in Armenia, in France, or anywhere else in the world. So that's kind of how I understand feminism. I guess.
Thank you. And we're gonna listen right now to Beth Hart, one of my favorite American singers. And she's a really strong woman. So we're gonna enjoy her song "Setting Me Free." Then we're gonna come back with some more discussion. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend. Beth Hart, I just love her. And by the way, she was in our studio 2 years ago. It was a pleasure to interact with her. She's a really cool woman. She's not only a versatile vocalist, she also plays piano, guitar, cello, bass guitar, and percussion. And this song is about a woman fighter, strong woman, Charlotte.
I love the multiple names.
Bringing us back to where we were before the wonderful musical break.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Charlotte was giving us her definition of the term or the ideology of feminism, and it can be a very tricky thing to define because, you know, like the project that ONEArmenia is working on right now, it can be filled with a bunch of landmines. You know, it's a hard thing to define because it's a touchy subject, right? And so Armas was talking a little bit during the break.
Yeah, just before we came back on air, we were having a discussion with Charlotte here about how we exchange definitions and the simplicity of the definition and the complexity of understanding it. And
can I ask something? I mean, is strong woman a synonym for feminist or no?
I don't think so, not necessarily. Because I think in feminist there's like a very political dimension. If you identify, like a lot of strong women would say, you know, I don't need feminism, I don't consider myself a feminist. Whereas I think if you define yourself as a feminist, it means that, you know, you believe in women's rights, but also you believe that we're not there yet and that you need to do something to advance them. So I think it's slightly different, but obviously, you know, like there's some overlap.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, what I was about to say was, so during this conversation about, so some people, all right, the way that I define feminism for myself is, and it's adopted by someone close to me, it's being a humanist, which offers an equal, egalitarian approach to offering opportunity to people. But Charlotte said something very interesting, which was how to how it's usually used, that term. Can you just say a little bit about that?
Also, usually when you define yourself as a feminist, there's always going to be someone in the room, usually a guy, saying, well, I'm not a feminist, I'm a humanist. And it's used not as a way to, you know, say that, okay, like a man and women are all humans and we're all equal, whatever that means. They just use that as a way to deflect the conversation. So you're going to talk about terms instead of talking about real, like very real issues of like violence against women, for example. And yeah, I think like there's something very important in the term feminist, that, you know, you put the focus where it's supposed to be. Like the problem like in gender equality right now, it's like the problem is that women are not granted the same rights as men. So that's why, you know, feminism, from obviously the French word femme, I guess, that, you know, it puts the focus where the issue is. Like it's women that are not granted the same level of humanity as men. So I think that's why it's important to use that term rather than the term humanist, which is, I think it's way too vague and it doesn't really tell you anything, in my opinion.
It doesn't draw the focus to where the problem is, where the deficiencies are.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to know what you think of this, because when people talk about equality and opportunity, right, my first reaction is that's great, but at the same time we also have to be thinking about responsibility. And my interpretation then of what you just said, the way I would explain that then would be, talking about feminism then brings out not only the lack of inequality inopportunity between men and women, but it also should highlight the responsibility that the different parties have in trying to achieve that. One thing you mentioned before was violence against women. Well, men have a huge responsibility in dealing with that. And so, what do you think?
I don't know that
Am I
much.
trying to dodge the question?
No,
Am I trying
I
to dodge the issue? Am I deflecting?
No, I don't know. Actually, that's I think a point that a lot of feminists have made, that, you know, when you say violence against women specifically, you focus on the victim, which is, you know, it's good, but at the same time you should also like mention who the perpetrators are. So we could be, you know, talking about men's violence against women, for example. Yeah, but I don't know how applicable it is to daily vocabulary. Like, I don't know how many issues that we have that need to be renamed for us to understand properly, you know?
Oh, no. Yeah.
You know? Yeah, oh, no.
Let's go around renaming everything. There's a huge power in words. But yeah, I think a lot of times, especially in academia these days, the power of words can be really overstated. I mean, the difference, I don't know. I mean, look, if someone's using "I'm not a feminist, I'm a humanist" to deflect from the issues, then it's a problem. But if they're saying "I'm not a feminist, I'm a humanist," but then they still take up the issues and the responsibilities,
right,
then it's just a difference of words.
10 seconds.
10 or 15. Hey guys, it's my turn to ask a question, may I? Yeah, what do you think, Charlotte, about Armenian women versus women in any other countries? I mean, if you've, for instance, in France or America, if you've been there. Have you been there, by the way?
I've been there, but I was 6 and I was not very concerned about feminist issues. You know? I was concerned about squirrels and running after them in the park.
Squirrels.
So I don't know about that.
Yeah, what do you see are the issues perhaps here as compared to there, wherever there may be?
Are Armenian women ready to have equal rights?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. Yes. I think, you know, it's very particular because I don't think. So there's a lot of nuances, right, in what I'm about to say. Armenia is, generally speaking, a very patriarchal country.
Right.
So there's a lot of resistance to the idea of women doing certain things. At the same time, I've seen, you know, like in the work that I do, a lot of the partners that we work with are NGOs that are led by women. There's a lot of women in charge, in a way that I think it's very impressive. You know, like women are really they're everywhere. Like when you look at the Armenian workplace. So, and that being said, you know, you always have somebody in Armenia telling us that the women's place should be in the kitchen, that the women's role is really to, you know, raise children and not be at work, just like be at home. So that's, I don't know, I guess it's something that exists in every country, that you have women going against the traditional role that's been offered to them as just, you know, being at home, raising children, that are really focusing on their career and vocation, and at the same time, yeah, there's a certain amount of backlash, I guess. But that's kind of the case everywhere. So
I'm curious about that backlash, but we don't have time for that.
We're curious
curiosity.
about many things, but unfortunately we're done with our time. And thank you so much for being in our studio. And I bet we'll ask our questions after the show. And for those of you guys who want to meet with this woman and find out about whatever she thinks is right for women, how can people find you? ONEArmenia.
Sure, yeah. they can find me on the ONEArmenia website. I mean, like if they're in Yerevan, I'm kind of always around. I'm planning to like stick around in Yerevan for a very long time. So
that's a great
it's
news.
a small city.
That is such great news.
That's awesome. Thank you for being in our studio.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Charlotte and Charlotte.
Charlotte
Poulain.
This is the Great American Weekend. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned. I would never live in America.
Why not? Didn't you enjoy your time there?
Yeah, why not?
It was good, but it wasn't great.
Because you didn't know us when you were there.
Join Ina, MK, MasterSteve, and HazvaQT for a great American experience.
Every Saturday on the Great American Weekend. Now I know you guys, and of course my life has changed. I'm not the same again.
Wait,
whoa.
What?
Once you go feminist, you don't go back.
It's all because you didn't know us when you were in the U.S.
But you know what's here, and that's what's
now
important.
You're just waiting to run away and go to the U.S. and stay there?
And of course, 2 hours was not enough to discuss women, their rights, and everything connected with them. Shouldn't we do a whole month of woman episodes?
We
What
could
do you
give it a
guys
shot,
think?
but don't take my next weekend from me.
No. I'm not going to do it. We've
Because
been waiting for this for so long.
This coming Tuesday is the birthday of a great American writer, Jack Kerouac, one of the founders of the Beat generation and the Beat movement in American literary culture. And so we're going to be talking about the Beatniks next weekend. And maybe a little bit about St. Patrick's Day as well.
Yay! By the way, we've got some events coming up connected even with St. Patrick's Day. So, Hazva, are you going to help me with the events here, right now?
I'm going to go through some music events that are coming up.
Sure. Go for it.
So, on March 12th, Rupen Hakhverdian, with his program This is Yerevan, will be playing his oldies but goodies, starting at 9 p.m. at the Mezzo Classic House Club. So go and check out Rupen Hakhverdian March 12th at 9 p.m. March 14th at 9:30 p.m. Vishap Band will be playing at Calumet Ethnic Lounge Bar on March 14th at 9:30. That should be cool. March 16th, 9:30 p.m. Garik Baboyan and Sona Rubenian at the Kami Music Club. Go and check that out as well. And I'll kick over the theater, what's playing in the theaters to Ina. Ina, what's playing in the theaters?
Okay, March 11th, 5 p.m., The Little Prince, one of my favorite books, one of my favorite plays and cartoons, everything connected with The Little Prince at Stanislavski Russian Theater of Yerevan. So make sure you grab your kids and watch this one. March 11th, 7 p.m., The Upside Down Dream at Malian Theater. I have watched this one with my son, and I really recommend this one. It was fun. It was fun, nice decorations, dynamic, really cool. And there are some parties going on, a lot of them actually this week.
Oh my God, there's so many. I think the March Madness is here.
Yep. So, March 10th, 8:30 p.m., Arnie Rock and Hike Solar at Hugo Bar and Restaurant. By the way, Hugo Bar is a new one. It's a really cool and stylish place. If you haven't been there, just make sure you visit. You're going to enjoy just the decorations and the design of this place. March 10th, 1 p.m., 1 p.m. party. Have you ever visited a Daylight Yerevan party?
I've been to a party that's gone until the daylight.
Yeah, that's not too unusual here.
Good
but
morning.
Something that starts at 1 p.m. Ouch.
That's actually kind of cool. March 10th, 1 p.m. Daylight Yerevan.
So
That's
various DJs. Good morning hangout with various DJs. So go ahead and visit if you would like to dance in the afternoon. March 10th, 8 p.m. Special guest from Moscow named Dima Stylin. Funk disco he's gonna play vinyl only. So at Before Room. Make sure you go there. March 15th, 9 p.m. Retro Friday at Downtown Club. DJ Shadow from cheesy pop to R&B. Cheesy pop. March 16th, 9 p.m. DJ Vlad from Blood Jet from Ukraine at Revolution Bar. March 16th, 9:30 p.m. St. Patrick's Day party at Eden Pub. DJs Arnie Rock and Hike Solar are gonna play for you.
I'll read the exhibitions and art.
Yeah, sure.
So there are a couple of exhibitions, art exhibitions, and events happening this coming week. March 11th at 7:30 p.m. Drink and Draw will be happening where? All right, and on March 15th at 7 p.m. there's a graphics exhibition at the Albert and Tov Boyajian Gallery.
Tove.
Tove.
And there are some cinemas in English, movies in English that you can watch in Kino Park Cinema at Yerevan Mall, March 7th through 13th at 3:25 p.m. The Mule, American crime drama film produced and directed by Clint Eastwood, who also plays the lead role. 9:05 p.m. Captain Marvel, American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Carol Danvers. And also Yerevan American Corner suggests some events for people who want to improve their English language skills. Discussion series, American Lifestyle and Advanced Proficiency Level in English, every Wednesday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Also reading
also
club.
funded by the CIA.
Also reading club,
which means they're doing their job.
They're doing their job, exactly. They're everywhere.
March 11th at 3 p.m. Reading Club, weekly reading club. During the club you will read an extract from The Little Prince again, Yahoo, by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and discuss it. For more information, if you want to sign up or save a sit, you can call 561383 Yerevan American Corners. And
that is all we have for you this week, but we will be back next week here on Radio Von 103.1 with the Great American Weekend from 7 to 9
with Master Steve,
HazvaQT,
and
Ina
MK.
And lots about the beatniks, Kerouac, Ginsberg, Burroughs, Corso, and so on.
We do our homework, so you make sure don't miss this one.
Sometimes do our homework.
Sometimes. Bye-bye.